Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the It's My Job podcast. This is Jose. I am a transition student from Colorado, and my teacher, Miss Christine Dully, is the podcast facilitator. The It's My Job podcast features students interviewing adults who are blind or visually impaired, investigating important questions like how they use technology and how they connect with other people. Stay tuned after the podcast to hear how to get involved, and please share with your friends and teachers so they can listen too. Now for the interview. Cheyenne from Colorado is interviewing Dr. Sasha. She works with the Air Force. She works the Union Description app, and she will talk about the process of description. Check this app, especially if you're going to go visit national parks during the summer. Now, let's listen to the interview with Sasha and Cheyenne.
Hi, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so I was born and raised in Nepal, and I moved to the US in 2010 to go to school, and I have been doing that ever since. Right now, I am working on a PhD in communications at the University of Hawaii, but I recently started a full-time job as well. So I started to work for the United States Air Force. And because of that, I recently moved to Ohio. Now, I work as a contract specialist in the Air Force, which means that I purchase equipment for the Air Force. So right now, I am placed in C-130 FMS division. My job right now is to purchase aircrafts for the Air Force. That's what I do. And right now I'm in training. So the training I just started in January. The training lasts for 4 years. So in the 4 years, I'll be rotated to different sites as well, divisions as well. So after 4 years, I'll graduate from the training. But my job will be to purchase equipments and weapons for the Air Force. Right now I'm doing aircrafts, but next year in my next rotation, I might be doing guns or whatever else. It's a great job, but more importantly, people are very nice, extremely nice. I'm surprised how so many nice people can come together in one place, but so I'm going to school as well as working. I still attend the University of Hawaii, but it's all online now anyway. Plus, I was almost done with my classwork, so I only have research and things like that left now, which I can do remotely. I am married, so I live with my husband, and I also have a guide dog. She's my first dog. I got her last year. So that is me, and I also work as a research assistant on the Uni Description project. I found out that you had researched a little about. So 2 jobs and going to school. That's me.
What made you want to audio describe parks? What national parks have you described? Did you get to visit any of them?
Okay, so what made me want to describe the park? That's a great question. So this project is led by a professor. His name is Brett Opagar. He's at University of Hawaii. So he started the project. I just found my way to the project. I didn't really start it. And it's interesting because when I started to work for this project, I was not really looking for a job, but this opportunity came knocking at my door. So I just said, okay, why not? And so that's how I got into this project. Yeah, and now that I am working on it, I see the value of describing national parks because they are public places that everybody else gets to have access to, but often blind people don't. So it's a good project. It's a good cause. What parks have I described? A lot. We have described over 130 parks as of now. And our goal is to audio describe all the 420 national parks in the country. I have visited Yosemite National Park in California. I have visited Denali National Park in Alaska that we have described, but I have also been to other parks that we have not described yet.
I see you have degrees in psychology and social work, which I am interested in as well. I was wondering, how long did it take to get finished with your degrees?
My bachelor's is in psychology, 4 years for a bachelor's degree, and my master's is in social work, 2 years for a master's degree. So a total of 6 years, which is typical. It takes 4 years for a bachelor's and 2 years for a master's typically.
Were you interested in accessibility and audio description before or after the uni description project?
That's a great question, Shannon. How did you even think about that? And the answer is no, I was not interested. In fact, I didn't even know what audio description was. But it's so interesting you should ask that because, like I said, when I got this job, I was not looking for a job. So an opportunity came knocking at my door. So I thought, okay, why not take advantage of it? So that's how I got into this project. That's how I began to learn about audio description. But I was first a volunteer for this project. So I started volunteering in 2016. And the reason I volunteered was because I thought to myself, why not? Why not volunteer? There is an opportunity that I can take advantage of. So I actually volunteered for a year before I was officially hired. So I was officially hired in 2017, but I started to volunteer in 2016 and I volunteered because I thought, why not? I was asked to do things that I was able to do. So I thought, okay, why not help when I can? And after I started working on the audio description project, I started to learn about audio description. I began to see the impact it has in people's lives. So now I work for audio description and I also actually study audio description. This is my field of research for my school as well. And my boss is my boss. I work for him, but because he's a professor, he is also my academic advisor. So he also helps me with school and I work for him as well. That's a great question. I don't even know how you thought about that.
What does a typical day look like for you?
Well, I work full time, so I'm at work from 9 to 5, teleworking right now, working from home, but working nonetheless. So I'm pretty busy on weekdays from 9 to 5. In the morning, I get up around 7, which is kind of late, I think, but I feed my dog, check my emails on weekdays, Facebook a little bit. And my family, my mother is still back home in Nepal, so I like to talk to her if I can in the morning. And after that, I make myself a cup of tea. I like chai tea, homemade. And so after that, after I have my cup of tea, I start working. That's my weekdays. My weekends also look pretty much the same because on weekends I work on school stuff. So I'm still working, but different kind of work. It's just that I don't promptly start at 9 on weekends, but I'm always working either on school stuff or work stuff. So I work on media accessibility and audio description. And what I have realized is that when it comes to audio description, people usually talk about dynamic images. There is a lot of literature on dynamic images, like images that move, movies, videos, but there is not as much research about images that are static, images that don't move, like national park brochures, for example, photographs, statues. So that's a gap in literature I'm trying to fill with my research, studying about, static images as well. I'm still in early stages of my PhD. This is just my second year. Right now, I am taking exams, taking classes, fulfilling all these requirements before I can dive in the research world. But yeah, I study media accessibility and audio description. And audio description about static images is a gap that I'm trying to focus on for my research. And there is also, in the field of audio description, there is also huge controversy about, okay, should a describer be subjective or objective when describing, and which is better? And so I'm also trying to answer that question through research. There is a famous mantra in the field of audio description. It's called, what you see is what you say. But there's also a backlash in the academic community saying, no, it's not as simple as what you see is what you say. It's more complex than that. There are a lot of nuances. And so, yeah, it's very interesting.
What radio stations have you talked on and how many?
I used to have a radio show back home on BFM. It's a local radio station in my hometown. I hosted that show for 2.5 years. A few years before that, I did an interview on a radio called Saptakosi FM, a local FM station in the region I lived. That interview was for a children's program. Children would go and showcase their talent. It was actually a long interview. They interviewed me for an hour. They actually even interviewed my mother. And there is another radio station called Kosi FM in my hometown. My hometown is Biratnagar, Nepal. And so there was a show where you would call in and compete. And if you won the competition, you would actually have the chance to go to the radio station and host the show with the regular host together for an hour. So I did that. That was when I was really young. I was in the 7th grade when I won that competition. I thought I was the biggest hero ever. That was fun. And after that, after I moved to the US, I have been on Hawaii Public Radio. I did an interview there. And in the US, I have been more on television than on radio for some reason. But I also did another interview on ACB Radio a couple of years ago. I have been on Kan 2 News, which is a local TV channel in Hawaii 3 times. And then I have also been on Hawaii News Now, which is another TV channel in Hawaii.
What was your favorite thing about being a radio show host and why?
I liked being a celebrity. I liked people knowing me because people knew about me. So I liked the fame. That was my favorite thing. I liked talking itself, but when people recognized me on the street, that was my favorite thing. So I would say I like the fame. That was my favorite thing. Why? Because it makes me happy. I like to be seen. I like to be heard. In a good way, you know, when people recognize me for a good reason, it makes me really happy. But I like the talking itself. I think I like the fame more.
What tools and technology do you use to describe the parks?
We have a web tool on our website, unidescription.org, that we use to describe parks. So computer, obviously. And before we describe parks, we hold a training for the describers, National Park staff, because they actually do the describing. We will help along, but they actually do the description. And the training is 3 days long. We call it Descriptathon, so kind of describing marathon. Mm-hmm. And we used to do that training by telephone conference. So we used to use a telephone, but last year, for the first time, we used Zoom. So that pretty well received. So I think we'll be using Zoom in the future, for now anyway. So Zoom, telephone. The brochures are housed in an app called Uni Description, UNI Description, one word. So this app is available. This is a free app on both iOS and Android. So we use the app to house our description. Those are some of the tools and technology we use.
What are your favorite parks that you described and why?
Good question. I really liked Olympic National Park. We described that park. I like that park because it has a lot of trees. When we describe the park, I do the groundwork. So one thing I do before the National Park staff can come in and describe is that I copy paste the text part of the brochure into our web tool. And I will leave the picture part blank. And so the parks will come and fill that part. They will describe. So when I did this part, and we call this process seed, SEED, seed. So when I was seeding this park, it was really easy. The brochure was really clean. It was easy to copy paste. Usually it's not always that easy. So that also helped. I like this park because it sounds like it's full of forests and trees and very natural, a lot of natural resources. I mean, a lot of parks are that way anyway, but this park especially really stood out to me because it has a lot of trees, deep forest. So Olympic National Park is one of my favorite parks that we have described. I would actually love to go visit it one day. And then I also like Devil's Post Pile. That's another park we described because the descriptions of this park are really great. I think all the parks really we have described are great. We try to do very quality work. First we train the describers, and after parks have been described, actually ask blind people to do quality control of the park, give us feedback. And so they will review the parks, give us feedback, and we'll revise the description again before we actually release it to the public. So there is a lot of work involved to ensure quality. So, almost all, I would say that all the parks we have described are pretty good, but Devil's Post Pile just is so wonderfully described. The words used are so poetic. There is a wall that is described in that park that is actually one of my, if not the most favorite piece of audio description that I have ever come across. So those parks, yeah, they stand out to me.
How did you navigate the park if it was uneven terrain and unfamiliar?
Good question. So when I have visited national parks, I have visited with somebody. I have not been to a national park by myself. So visited Yosemite National Park. We actually did our field study. That was the first park where we actually tested our app on site. So when I say we were a group, this park is in California. So there were 26 volunteers went to the national park, Yosemite National Park. So including me, I think there were 26 people. So I was with a large group. And so we all worked together, went together. And after that, when I visited other parks, I have gone with my husband. So I have not been to a park by myself. But if I was by myself visiting a park, I would make sure I had help. So maybe I would go to the front desk and ask a ranger to guide me or something like that.
How does the Air Force accommodate your needs?
I just have to let them know what I need. So, and there is a thing called cap.mil, cap.military. It's an office that provides services and accommodations to their disabled employees. I just have to let my boss know what I want, and then he will contact cap.mil asking for what I need. And that's how they accommodate me. So as of now, I have asked for JAWS, a scanner, and a Braille embosser.
Do you have any questions for me?
I don't have any questions, but can I make a comment? Shannon, I just want to thank you for taking the time to come up with these questions. I wish you good luck for everything, and I want to thank you for interviewing me.
Hi, it's Jose again. Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the It's My Job podcast. What did you think? Would you like to check out the Union Description app? Have you ever been interviewed by a radio or TV station? If so, share the link on our Facebook page. We would love to hear from you. Let us know what you think. You can share your thoughts by phone or email. If you have questions for Sasha or Cheyenne, we would be happy to pass them along. And we might even share your questions and answers in a future episode of the It's My Job podcast. The phone number is 202-688-5044. Outside of the United States, you may need to dial +1 or 1 and your international access code. Be sure to check with your parents first. The email address is askitIsmyjob@gmail.com. So it is askitSmyjob@gmail.com. No spaces and no apostrophe. We want you to know that you can find us on Facebook. Just search for It Is My Job. Each of our episodes is on the Perkins Path for Technology blog. Check us out and leave us a comment at perkinslearning.org/technology. And finally, we have a YouTube channel called It Is My Job, where you will find all of our episodes. If you missed episode number 18, head over to YouTube or Facebook to hear Madison's interview with Sharon to learn all about linguistics. This was our 19th episode, but we want to make many more, and we need your help. And if you're a student who is blind or visually impaired and would like to be an interviewer on a future episode, please have your parent or teacher contact us via phone, email, or our Facebook page, and we will get you matched up with an interviewee. If you're an adult who is blind or visually impaired and would like to be interviewed, please send us a message via phone, email, our Facebook page, and we will get back to you. We have a lot to be thankful for in this episode. Thanks so much to Cheyenne for taking her time as the interviewer, and thanks so much to Sasha for taking her time as the interviewee. Thanks so much to Miss Christine Dully for providing us students with meaningful opportunities to experience with what you always tell us. You don't need sight, you need a vision. Thanks to Perkins Path for Technology for the vlog posts. Our music is from purpleplanet.com. With so many of us working and studying from home, we hope that this podcast is becoming a great opportunity to learn from each other and increase awareness about all the amazing jobs of people who are blind or visually impaired.